Good morning, everyone. So, this is all about looking for anxiety, particularly in the morning. So, what I mean by this is, are you searching for anxiety in your mind, or it feels like you're searching for anxiety? You wake up, you know you're in the anxiety state, you're coming out of that sleepy state from unconsciousness into conscious awareness. And the first thing you do is catch yourself looking for symptoms, looking for those difficult thoughts, physical symptoms, adrenaline, tension in the body, weird feelings, whatever it might be for you. That's what you do. So, why is that happening? And it might happen constantly throughout the day. So, what's going on here? Is it normal? And does it subside? So, the first thing to say is that yes, it's absolutely normal because remember, anxiety, the way I describe it, it's a learned habit over many years. So, we've taught our brains, not deliberately, because of sensitization, that there's threats around every corner and we've got to be on alert. And so the nervous system has started to react because it's tied to different symptoms, thoughts that it would otherwise not normally have. It would reserve the flight or fight response for those obvious physical threats. But because it's tied over the years of stress, it's now checking in. And so the nervous system, through sensitization, is getting your brain to check in and look for things to worry about because it's learnt that it's got to be on, or falsely learnt it's got to be on for your protection. So again, in the morning you wake up and you've formed the habit over years of looking for it. Now, for many years, you were unconscious of it. You weren't even aware you were doing it. You weren't aware how much was going on in your mind. I would argue most people are overthinking, are thinking about thinking all day anyway, so let alone anxiety. So it's normal. It's not abnormal. It's frustrating, but it's completely normal. So that's why it's happening, because you've formed the habit. Um, the reason why it feels so frustrating, particularly when you're starting to recover, is because you're now fully aware of it. So before it was unconscious, you were just sort of lost in your thoughts. It wasn't particularly pleasant, but now you're aware of it. So you're like, whoa, my mind is really working overtime here. But the fact that you're aware of it is a great sign because that's how you start to break the pattern. It's like when you're aware that you're tired or your mind's telling you you're tired, so don't go to the gym, even though you've got the energy deep down to go. That's what you're becoming aware of. It's frustrating. You're kind of in this tug of war between going to the gym, not going to the gym, checking the thoughts, not checking the thoughts. So you're aware of how active your mind has been, which is frustrating and it can be a bit of a shock at the start. So that's why it's particularly frustrating early on. So you've got to be gentle with yourself. It's normal. This heightened awareness of how your mind has been is frustrating in itself. So that's the first thing I should mention. The second thing is, well, what do you do about the habit? What do you do about this constant checking? Well, you treat it like any other symptom of anxiety. Some people think that perhaps it's not a symptom of anxiety. It's just this habitual thinking. Yes, it is habitual thinking, but it's just a classic symptom of anxiety, constantly checking in, looking in, searching for the anxiety, even if you've got low level. Some people write in the comments, I don't feel anxious, but I'm still searching for the anxiety, or I still don't feel quite right. If you feel like that, you are still anxious. Your sensitization levels are still high. They might have been here originally. You've done some great work. They've dropped to here, but they're still high. So it feels like you're not anxious, feels like your body's not tense, but it absolutely is. You just don't notice it. That's why you're writing a comment saying, is this normal? Because you're slightly worried about it. If you're worried about anything, there's anxiety behind it. So if you're worried about constantly checking for the anxiety, we treat it all the same way. So we've got to practice with it, allow, go loose, let it all happen. And yes, at the start, particularly when we're forming a new habit, it requires energy to do that. You've got to, there it is again. No problem, go loose. There's a checking symptom, no problem. There's a heart symptom, no problem. There's the tension symptom, there's the derealization symptom. So we treat it like all the other symptoms. We just call, there's a checking symptom, no problem. Do what you need to do. Check as often as you want. Mind or nervous system. Check in as long as you need to. I'm just going to get on with my day or go loose. So it requires a bit of deliberate practice, as this does. Recovery requires you to practice. That's why we call it practice. So specifically early on, you're going to have to be very deliberate around whenever you realize you're checking in, or anxiety, just adrenaline, and not treating it or giving it any more credit than any of your other symptoms. Sometimes we get the more severe symptoms. A lot of people say to me, I don't panic anymore, but this constant checking is doing my head in. It's just the next layer down. I'm going to do a video on the layers of recovery. It's great. You're now aware of how your mind has been. It's frustrating. The habit's there, but every time you become aware of the habit, you're starting to rewire that habit out of your brain. So whenever I become aware that I've checked in, stepped out of the checking in habit. I've kind of risen up and I'm like aware of what my mind's doing. So I'm not lost in my mind, which is great. When we then start to think about it, we go back into the mind, if you like. But it's all fueled by sensitization, your body, the tension in your body making you worry about it. So we just keep resetting, practicing floating whenever we realize we're checking in. Oh, there it is again, no problem. Every time you check in, you're desensitizing a little bit, you're rewiring the brain, you're starting to deprioritize this habit. When you go loose and you check in, the body goes, well, maybe I don't need to check in so much anymore. So that will die down in time. Just like any habit, you're starting to rewire these new neural pathways in, which is why it does take time, but ultimately it gets you there. Now, the thing is, at the start, it takes more energy. The good news is that you can do this very regularly. After a while, after you get practice and you don't even think about it, it's like any new habit. You get into a car and you just start driving. You don't consciously have to put all the energy into turning the steering wheel, checking the road, putting the handbrake, the pedals. You do it automatically. So technically it requires energy, but you don't have to think about it. It's the same when you start to allow every time you check in, it gets easier and easier. At the start, it feels hard because it's new. And remember, you've got the habit of checking in, you're trying to rewire it, form the new habit. So there's going to be a bit of toing and froing. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And you can allow, regularly throughout the day, and it requires very little effort. So some people think it's, how am I supposed to do this all the time? You just do it when you're aware that you're doing it. Allow, there it is again, no problem, go loose. And the more you do it, slowly build up, it gets easier and easier and it doesn't feel so hard. And so you'll start to see that actually I can do this pretty easily. Oh, there it is again, just drop the shoulders, go loose. So I hope that helps, because the checking in is normal. It's normal for it to be heightened in the morning because you've been unconscious, you've been asleep, and you start to become aware of your state again. And of course you check in, and that's why it's frustrating, because it's the start of the day. People go, oh no, I've got another day of anxiety. We treat that the same way. Oh, it's just another thought, go loose. Do a guided practice in bed or get up, walk slowly. Treat those thoughts about the day ahead or the anticipation of the anxiety in the day as more anxiety thoughts to practice with. They're all the same thing. We shouldn't treat any of these variations any differently, even though the mind wants you to say, no, this one's serious. The constant checking is more serious. It's not anxiety. It's classic anxiety. So I hope that helps. I know it's frustrating. That's why I've done this video, but with practice, it gets a lot easier. If you've got any questions, please let me know in the comments, but otherwise I will see you soon. Take care.